Howdy homie, again it ain't Tony, but this time it's a Sony. The brand new Sony 50 to 150mm f2G Master. Holy guacamole, another constant f2 zoom. So in this video, we're gonna talk about what a lens like this is good for, how it compares to the more traditional 70 to 200 f2.8, and how you won't be able to send your kid to a good college if you were to get this lens. Sorry, little Timmy.
Anyways.
So first off, this is Sony's second constant full-frame f2 zoom, the first being the 20 to 70mm f2G Master, which came out last November. And for the most part, I think that was generally well received.
That's all.
And Sony is continuing to break the tradition and norm with this 50 to 150mm, a range we haven't quite seen before on any lenses.
So what's the big deal here?
The true gem of this package of versatility is the constant f2. We're literally bringing a set of primes with us in this one unit: 50, 85, 100, 135, and 150mm. And I, Jason Vong, love telephoto lenses, my favorite being the 85 and the 135 prime. I love the look, I love the compression, and it's a type of image quality you just can't get from a smartphone. Yet. High quality telephoto lenses are typically very sharp, but the 50 to 150mm in particular, despite it being an f2 zoom lens, maintains sharpness outside the center and into the corners extremely well. Bokeh? Ugh, creamalicious. Cherry blossoms in Japan with this lens never look so good. But we're not at a Krispy Kreme here, so enough glazing.
Anyways.
This is a heavy son of a gun. It comes in at 1,340 grams or 2.95 pounds. And I ain't talking about the British currency here because this lens is gonna cost way more than that.
Are you foreshadowing?
Let me just set this back down, okay? For my typical travel use cases, not gonna lie, I'd rather bring my way lighter 85 or 135 prime, like what I've already been doing, and just take my chances with cropping into my A1's 50 megapixels. Better to lose some IQ than to lose back support, am I right? But I'm already losing both, if you know what I mean.
So what are the use cases then?
Now, I'm not gonna pick this back up again, okay? But there is no denying a lens like this is more for fast-paced run-and-gun types of scenario. And while we can quickly default this to being a portrait, wedding, and event lens, in my Vong opinion, it's more catered towards indoor sports, concerts, pretty much any situation with very tricky, uncontrollable lighting. If you're coming from traditional zooms like the 70 to 200 f2.8, we are now gaining one extra stop of light with this f2. And just to paint you a picture of how much of a difference that would make, if you were using an f2.8 lens at ISO 6400 before, you can now go f2 and be at ISO 3200. That's gonna be less noise in your photos, and that's always a win. Or keep it at ISO 6400, but now raise your shutter speed instead to better freeze the action. And that's something I typically struggle with when shooting concerts. I always struggle with balancing shutter speed and ISO, but with the new f2 lenses now, not so much anymore. So we're gaining a lot more wiggle room with this one extra stop of light. Especially with the 4 extreme dynamic linear motor inside this behemoth, the autofocus will keep up well, especially in 4K 120p video or 30 to 120 frames per second photo raw bursts with the flagship cameras.
Hey, dude.
I have my friend Pat here helping me out with this, and the lens is just keeping up with me so well as I sprint like a madman towards the camera at downhill speed. Now, the one thing that I don't appreciate about the G Master lenses is that it really magnifies my facial flaws. But it's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make just to show you how incredible the lens and camera combination is, tracking a moving subject with such a razor-thin depth of field.
Perfect, right in the middle.
And it's just something a third-party lens like a Tamron 35 to 150 won't be able to give you. Now, calm down there, Mike, okay? I'm not bashing on Tammy here. At the end of the day, she is still a lot more affordable, and not having that same autofocus capability won't be a big deal to more than half the Sony users out there. But for the proest of pros, this 50 to 150mm has better reliability and compatibility. Now really quickly, just squeezing it in here, the focus breathing for video with this lens is amazingly minimal. And this is with breathing compensation turned off. And even when you turn it on, the framing looks almost identical. The punching is not going to be as egregious as some of the previous lenses are that came before this one.
Versus 70 to 200 millimeters.
So let's dive a little deeper on how it compares to the more traditional 70-200, arguably the staple for any portraits, weddings, events, sports, yada yada yada. And this is the f2.8 G Master 2, and it is lighter at 1,045 grams. A little over half a pound of difference. Filter diameter, 77mm versus a whopping 95. I have 0 ND filters for this lens, which really prevented me from doing those silky smooth waterfall photos.
Good luck with that. Anyways.
Both lenses actually come pretty close in length, even with their respective lens hoods on. Without the hood, they measure out to be a bit shorter than 2 of your standard Coca-Cola cans stacked together. Now, like the 70-200, the 50-150mm is internal zoom as well, so it doesn't actually extend out, and the collar here is removable. Side by side, bokeh difference, of course the f2 offers a bit more. But with telephoto lenses like these, I mean, on their own, they offer plenty of bokeh anyway. So it isn't something that I would stress about, in my opinion.
50,
Here's Pat taking a couple of photos of little old me at f2 and f2.8 at various focal lengths, and there is a slight difference if you really pixel peep between the two photos, but I mean, I'd be equally happy with the f2.8, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like by itself, it just looks good already. Now, while the 50-150mm is 20mm wider, it is also 50mm shorter. No Sherlock, am I right? But I do think it'll be tough for some folks to give up that extra 50mm of reach. But if you have a higher megapixel camera like an A7R or A1, then you can either go APS-C mode or just crop and post. That might be a good workaround simply for that f2 trade-off. Now, although most white lenses from Sony, including the 70-200 G Master, support the 2 teleconverter attachments, unfortunately, this 50-150mm does not. There is simply not enough clearance in the back here to mount a teleconverter. So it kind of feels wrong that they made this lens white. Feels like it should have been a black lens.
Versus 135mm.
Now, there's also the 135 G Master, the longest telephoto prime from Sony with an f1.8 aperture. But I mean, f1.8 versus f2, that's only like 1/3 of a stop of a difference. I mean, I think that's super negligible and maybe worth upgrading to this 50-150mm simply for that massive versatile zoom range if you are one of the pros that shoot a lot of events or sports in tricky lighting situations. But of course, the issue is gonna be the price. Which we still don't know. There is no official pricing given to us prior to the release of this video, but they are ballparking this between $34.99 to $38.99, or potentially even more given the current economic uncertainty. So, yikes.
So what the Vong recommended then?
Okay, so I'm not downplaying the high price tag here, but let's just see if we can justify the price for any of my viewers with severe case of gas, okay? Don't tell little Timmy to kiss half a week of his college tuition goodbye just yet.
Alpha.
So looking at our traditional zoom lenses here, the 24-70 f2.8 G Master 2 launched at $2,300, and the 70-200 f2.8 G Master 2 launched at $2,800. And now looking at the new wave f2 zoom lenses now, the 20-70mm f2 G Master launched at $2,900. If it's between $34.99 to $36.99, then I would say, okay, maybe it's not that big of a stretch. Again, these are your non-traditional zoom lenses. These f2s at these ranges are something that we've never seen before, so all right. But if it's between $37.99 to $38.99, ouch, that would be almost $1,000 difference. That's rough. If it's gonna be over $4,000 in the States because of the economic uncertainty right now, then maybe it's better to get the f1.8 Prime separately, and that would still come out cheaper in total. But there is no denying how handy a versatile zoom lens is, especially the 50-150mm f2 being so close in prime quality. And not having to have downtime to keep swapping out lenses might just be worth the time-saving cost. Plus, the focus tech inside of the 50-150mm is the most advanced currently, especially against these older f1.8 primes. Either way, there is no denying it will be a hefty price tag. But if you make a living out of it, you'll likely make it back in no time. Otherwise, save money, be Vong, go Prime. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like the work that I do and want to support the channel, simply stick around and let's do what my sponsor Squarespace has to say. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to create beautiful websites. No coding knowledge needed. Just simply choose from their many templates and designs. Perfect for photographers and online shop owners. Use my link down below for a 14-day free trial, and when you're ready to launch, you can use my code Jason Vong to save 10% off your first purchase of your website or domain. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Creamalicious.